Happy 2020. My name is William Penn, and this is our new hour, or our new half-hour time slot. We're no longer on at 5 or 5:30. We get in prime time, 6 p.m. every Thursday. The Grand Boulevard Coalition and the Grand Boulevard Prevention Service half-hour show dealing with a drug-free community. My name is William Penn, and I am the host this week and for some of the weeks to come up. I hope everybody had a good holiday, enjoying this weird weather that we're having, and taking care of themselves. One of the things that we're going to kick off in the new session or season is this is the year for the census. And as everybody knows, we keep hearing about it. It's going to be hit over our heads until the middle of the year, how important it is to stand up and be counted. And so over the next couple of weeks and months, I'll have several guests to come in and kind of talk about the census from the perspective on why we should get involved, who should get involved. We'll hopefully have some people come on and talk about employment, dealing with the census from the federal government to the state government, all the way down to the local city. Everybody have money. They're trying to get the word out. First through education and marketing, and then April 1st is the first day to sign up, and there'll be a lot of big events and information sessions going on throughout the city, the country, and the United States, making sure that people are getting counted correctly. Why is that important to us? As you know, every state get their portion of federal dollars to help serve their people in their community within the community of the state. And when we're not counting the right number, those dollars are less. And if anything is less, as you know, it's very hurtful, and it can hurt our community. And anything that hurts a community goes back to what we stand for, which is a drug-free community and people being healthy, and people are living, as the teens say today, their best life. But if they need to have support from the federal, state, or local government, that's the reason why. And I know a lot of people call over the holiday and talk to me, and they were complaining, but they were looking for food banks because, as everybody know, if you did not know, the federal government have new guidelines when it comes to SNAP. And with that, a lot of people benefits got cut, or they got cut off altogether. And that's going to have a direct effect on people mental health and people stability in their area, in their community. We all know how we used to hear about seniors debating if they should buy medicine or they should buy food, and how they wind up not buying food and maybe had to go to eating pet food, animal food, dog food, just to sustain life. We don't want to go back there, and we don't have to go back there. The only thing we have to do is make sure we stand up and be counted. And so we'll talk a little bit more on that as we go through the build up to the April 1st. I also like to take a second to go to the overhead and to let you know our motto is most youth don't use. We always do youth talks from the ages of 12 to 18. It's led by youth, it's put on by youth, but it's monitored by myself and my wonderful team over at GBC, making sure that the proper messaging is getting to the youth and that they know there's somebody there for them to talk to. And please also make sure you join this conversation live every Thursday at 6 p.m. on CAN TV 21. You can follow us on Facebook at Grand Boulevard Coalition and Grand Boulevard Prevention Services. And I think that square is Instagram, so you can follow us, as they say on the gram, at Grand Boulevard Coalition. And you can see the email, but we know nobody's going to email. And you can always call in live to the show when I'm here live, and you'll know that in advance, at 312-738-1060. Again, 312-738-1060. All right, let's go through some of our questions. How can we work together to make our community safer? On the south side, we know we have a very good presence of police activities and cameras trying to help to keep the streets safe. And we've seen how in the last couple of weeks that people are beginning to call when they see something, they're saying something. When there is something that happened, they are helping. And we just need to keep that going and helping to make sure our streets are safe and that people are feeling safe and feeling happy. And when you're feeling safe and happy, that helps, that has an effect on your psyche. So it's very important that we continue to do that. We also have, what is the state of mental health on the south side of Chicago? A lot of people continue to tell me that we need more mental health dollars to help talk to people, to have places and locations for people to go to so they be able to have ready-made treatment. I've always been a component that there is several agencies and people who deal within these fields, and these people all do need more money and more resources. But on the flip side of that, if they are trying to service 100 people but they're only getting 50 or less, they're never reaching their goal. That means that people who are needing the service are not being where the people who have the service. And so we continue to work on having our summits on the campus of Illinois Tech, formerly known as IIT, when we do our opioid initiative each 6 months to every year, where we bring all the resources together and community involvement to give people a place to go or know what they need. And sometimes just talking to people and saying what it is you need. That's something that a lot of people don't do. They don't talk, they don't ask people what they need. They tell them, this is what we have, does that kind of fit in what you got? And that's kind of backwards. So we need to really work this year on making that a more of a conversation, as they like to say, and keep that conversation going. Right now, we're in the season of our seniors in high school getting their acceptance letters to college. Our 8th graders begin to get the acceptance letters into high school, and how the new added pressure of going off to a new venture and how that might have a adverse effect on our psyche. And we got to make sure that our parents are empowered with all the tools they need to be able to discuss with their children before they head off to high school and head off to college what they need to know and learn so they can definitely be safe when they go away to college and go on to high school. And I find that having these conversations now here on this wonderful TV program, and as you guys know, when I'm out in the field in the Bronzeville, Greater Grand Crossing area, talking to high school students and talking to grade school students, I always hear and get a chance to talk and ask them what they think about these questions and concerns. And I begin to be amazed that the students actually do have questions and do have concerns, and that they were happy that somebody finally maybe asked them. Because we never ask nobody when they get out of 8th grade or get into 8th grade, are you excited or you want to go to high school? We tell them they're going to high school. We tell them, in some cases, where they're going to high school. And the first major decision that they might be making could be that, or in 4 years, which, as we all know, go very, very fast, that in 4 years' time, they have to make that big decision. Do I want to go to college? Do I want to take on a trade? Do I want to go to the military? Or do I just want to take some time off and maybe get a job and get my life together and see what I'm going to be happy about doing? So I hope somebody's out there listening and can call in and tell me what they think about those topics and those subjects. One of the biggest things that I find really lacking in my community and in the schools that I service and that I go to is parental involvement. And I'm trying to understand and figure out how we can engage that topic and engage more parents to be involved in the school setting. And even if it's just one day a month, and not a day, 1 hour a month, or maybe when you drop off your child from the time you drop off your child to the time that you maybe pick up your child, that instead of brushing and moving on to something else, you actually spend a second and pop your head into the school and see how the school has been changed, or how the fresh paint, or how the student is doing, and just checking on the school, because sometimes we also have to not only keep our kids honest and them going to school and they're doing what they're supposed to, we have to keep our principals, assistant principals, and our teachers honest that they're doing what they're supposed to do, and educating the children that they have in their grasp for the 8 hours a day. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys see a lot of parental involvement when it comes to school, or do you be involved with what's going on in school? Again, we are here live today. Please give us a call if you feel like I'm chiming in. The number is at the bottom of the screen, but it is 312-738-1060. One of the other areas that we're going to be hitting this year in the great year of 2020, and again, if I didn't say Happy New Year's to everyone, and I wish that everybody successfully make it through another decade, for all of us who have a few decades behind them now, and a few more coming hopefully in the future, that we make the most of this decade now that we have lived a couple of them, some of us more than others, and how fast it goes, but how can we capitalize on this next decade and what all the changes is going to bring with technology fastly changing our lives from just 10 years ago, from the cell phone and the 4G to the new 5G, and what wonderful companies are going to spring up with this new technology to help make our lives a lot easier. But do we even have those conversations on what we can do to help streamline that, or help be a part of that new onslaught of employment and things that we're doing? That's something to keep in mind and to think about. We also like to talk about community empowerment. And one of the things that one of our grassroots effort, and one of our people that we partner with, Chicago Area Project and a few other, is to re-engage the grassroots community empowerment efforts in letting the people talk, act, and be a part of what changes they want to see and have within their community. And one of the things that we found from several meetings leading up to this show today and leading up to the 2020 census is that the census, and how we now know certain areas, certain communities in Chicago, a lot mainly on the south side and the west side, was undercounted by millions. And we see this because we would be prepared to have preschool for X amount of children based on a census report, and we get 5 times that amount in, which means a lot of people didn't get counted. A lot of people didn't get counted by not knowing. One of the things that a lot of people say the problem is there's never no education around these things. And one of the things that a large group of African American and Hispanic agencies put together was an educational piece behind it that gives them 2 months to 3 months to educate people on why to take the census, who should be counted, which we all know everybody that's breathing should be counted. That's human, so don't count your pets. But those are the things that are going to dictate what's going to happen the next 10 years going forward. Will we lose a congressional seat here in Chicago or in the northern Illinois area because of the flight of people leaving certain areas? Or will we get the count right and we gain a new seat for remap districting because we've gone from being undercounted to being counted on par? And now resources and money can be earmarked for, more money and more resources can be earmarked for certain areas because the people the ghosts who haven't been counted have now been counted. So all those type of things are very important that we take time out to think about. And we have to think about it from the perspective, who should we educate? Everyone should be educated, but we know people all of all walks of life don't have the ability to have the time or the resources to learning. So there are going to be all types of initiative, pop-ups, parties, churches, boys and girls clubs, schools, libraries, and so on and so forth, with people going to be out there only educating you. And I want to be very straightforward with people because I know people are scared and people are always scamming and stuff. But between now and April 1st, the only thing people should be talking to you about is why you should be taking the census, what is the census, and what benefits your community, and not so much yourself, but you and your community get out of having correct count. There's nobody should be asking you for no personal information. I mean, if they ask you to fill out a sign-up sheet, so you're at an event like you normally do, they always ask for your name and your zip code at the minimum, those two things, so they could track the people that they're talking to in the different zip codes in the different areas. So that's important. And then when April 1st comes, it's electronic. If you don't have the whereabouts in your home, you can now do it on your smartphone. So you could do it in privacy of taking your train ride or your bus ride to work. But you can do it on your smartphone. You can do it yourself. And for the people who need assistance and help, the Chicago Public Library, different churches and different places around the city of Chicago will be setting up places where people can come in and do the survey for it. And as we get closer to that on these Thursday shows, I'll make sure I'll bring those places, times, and things around so people would know where they can go and get counted. And so the motto is stand up and get counted for your future. There's like a lot of taglines, and I'm going to make sure I streamline it down to the main one that we're using to get the messaging out and make sure I'm on point with that. All right, let's see what else we got on the agenda today. Our drug-free community. How we're doing? We got great news. We had over winter break for my school children. And I know, unfortunately, a couple of the Chicago public schools had to come back a couple of days early. We got a chance to go out and talk to youth in the different schools and ask them a blind questionnaire, 14 question questionnaire on what they think and what they know. And so as we're correlating that stuff, that we will have some answers or some results in 2 weeks on the surveys, and we can really see what the youth are thinking. And we can really see, because as you remember, we had a guest a couple of weeks back who said that maybe in my neighborhood, 7 out of 10 youth don't use, but in his neighborhood, he feels that maybe 5 out of 5 does use. And so the question is, why is that happening in his community? And I think he was from the South Shore area, but it's not happening. But why is it different in the greater Grand Crossing / Bronzeville area? Is it the economical differences of Bronzeville and parts of greater Grand Crossing and Washington Park that gentrification has increased the wealth and the wealth dollars in those areas? And so with the wealth dollars in those areas, more money and more resources are going into the schools now. And so those schools are becoming A1 schools and A+ schools. And in South Shore, what is the big takeaway of what's going on over there that they're not getting to benefit from those type of things? One thing that people are always talking about and saying is living their best life. And that's like a goal that could be tattooed on a lot of people's body. That's a goal and that's a feeling. And I would like to know, what do you guys think about that, living your best life? Who should be living their best life? Should everybody, no matter what age? And what does that mean? Does that mean that 50% of it has to come from you and inside and living your best life so you're able to control yourself and what you're doing? And then the other is that what outside resources and outside forces are coming to either aid you or to maybe make you take a step back and figure out how to wiggle your way around those issues. So I personally think that taking care of yourself, eating right, exercising, drinking your water, and as you know, I like to say, make sure when you get up in the morning and leave to get on the bus, train, or Uber, that you speak and say hello to people because it just brighten their day. And it's been studied and shown that when you brighten someone's day, it might come back to you tenfold where somebody might brighten your day. So I always really believe in that, and I do that every day. And I hope that you guys are following me and that we're drinking our water and we're doing what we're supposed to do. But one of the more concerning issues in the city is our youth, some youth, and I don't know, they don't show a lot of pictures, but at least, unfortunately, the ones they do show are being bad out here. They just going downtown and, robbing people and hitting on people and shoplifting for stores. And we're trying to figure out, we can't keep saying, well, there's nothing for them to do or there's no jobs and so on and so forth, because we see that there's almost zero employment. Every place that you go these days are all hiring. Wages in the city of Chicago are definitely above $10 an hour, which anybody part-time and their youth, they're probably living at home, and if they're not helping with the house, they're basically just making money to help buy things that they want and to help what they're doing. That we're not channeling all that anger and all that excitement and all that adventures into employment and getting employment and so on and so forth. So I've talked to several people from the mayor on down, and we've been talking about having better training for our youth so where they can be ready to get out there and hit the job market, but then help the job and bring everybody to the same place at the same table. So when they walk away, they're walking away trained and ready to go into employment. And so the employer doesn't have to do a lot of that uplift and making sure dress codes, how they act, how to talk to people. It's not on them for training, but it's something that we're supposed to do within our communities and within our school to prepare them. And I know in some schools with the lack of resources, job resume writing, how to dress, how to talk, how to conduct an interview, how to be a part of an interview is lacking, it's not there. But when you look at people in the professional field like myself, who's either retrained themselves to or remake themselves to leave one field to go into another field, all through life, this is something that is being trained or being taught, and people are paying for it a lot of dollars to prepare themselves for the new world of 2020 and this new century on how things are done with LinkedIn and other websites. So if we see that the professional, the six-figure people are always utilizing these tools to make themselves better and more attractive for jobs, we really should say, well, on the backside of that, why is that not being done for our youth who are the new people who are going into the job force? They don't have these tools and stuff for them. So I'm hoping that putting that call out there that we can definitely talk about that and have some type of workshops, but maybe reaching out to LinkedIn and reaching out to some of these places to see if there's some seminars and some stuff that they can now attract that group, the future people who are going into the job market. And since that the people are paying for it and people on the six-figure jobs are utilizing it, that maybe some of those resources can be jimmied down, I guess, to the masses so we can get better people. I think it is coming up. I'm seeing that it's coming up on my closing in my last couple of seconds here. So I just want to make sure I hit the overhead one more time. Let us know. We like to talk about why most youth don't use. We like to be an ear to our youth to see what the conversation that they're having and what the conversation that they would like to lead. Remember to follow me here every Thursday at 6 p.m. on CAN TV 21. And don't forget, we are on Facebook and Instagram at Grand Boulevard Coalition and at Grand Boulevard Prevention Services. Again, I appreciate your time for this 25 minutes to hear me talk. I look forward to talking to everybody next week, and if not next week, the week after that. And make sure we have a great King's weekend, and we'll talk about how we can get that ready. All right? Thank you very much. Goodbye.